Hello, I'm Nathan B. Butler, author of A Saga on Home Video and host of both From the Star Wars Home Video Library and Star Wars Home Video Year by Year here on YouTube. And this is what may be the final episode, it's the 10th episode, of Star Wars Home Video Trivia. Now I say may be the final episode. When conceiving of this series, I had written a little over 90 questions, and I finally fleshed that out to wrap it up at 100. And I think that's a good round number to end on, if we are to end here. Because really, what I want to be able to do is let people sort of take the trivia quiz, so to speak, over the entirety of this series, or the entirety since the beginning at least, and get themselves a cumulative score that is easy to conceptualize. And being out of 100 makes it very easy to conceptualize someone's score because you can just do it as a straight easy percentage and rank yourself grade-wise. If you want to go by kind of like a Georgia grading scale, where I am, then 70 or above is passing. 70 to 79 is a C. 80 to 89 is a B, and upwards of there is an A. If you live somewhere like when I was younger and I lived in Indiana, maybe you consider there to be a D level that goes from 60 to 69 perhaps, and anything below that is failing. Whatever, however you want to conceptualize it, just way easier to do that instead of calculating a percentage, to just say this many out of 100. Simple enough. So it makes a nice end point for the series, or for maybe a season of the series, and gives me time to really think about whether I want to continue writing more questions, because they do get tougher to write as you go along, as you've already hit key topics. But also maybe something like this would be something that maybe could use a little bit of a tweak, maybe a different format in the future. I don't know. So I don't know if this is the last episode of Star Wars Home Video Trivia, or if it is simply the last of this first season of it. Kind of like, I guess, maybe the team behind The Acolyte felt, right? When they at the end of the first season thought there might be a second but weren't sure, and then nope, there wasn't. So consider this series to be sort of done for now, but it may revitalize at some point. We shall see. Consider an indefinite hiatus, if you like. But this will be our last episode for now, to give you a chance to get a cumulative score of up to 100. And I've talked about that a lot, so let's just get freaking going with the episode here. I'm babbling. So, the way these episodes work, if you haven't seen any already, is that I will ask 10 Star Wars Home Video related questions. I will leave a little pause in between each where I just kind of sit there and wait, and then ask the next question. So just question, pause, and so on to get through 10 questions. In this case, they will be numbered 91 through 100, because I'm trying to make it easy for someone to get their score for this episode out of those 10, but also for someone who wants to do it cumulatively since the beginning, to be able to track each individual question that they have answered correctly or not throughout the entire series. At the end, you'll be able to calculate a score, again, out of either the 10 for this episode or the 100 for the entire series. Feel free to post your score down in the comments. That'd be great. That's kind of a cool way of interacting here with something like this. Though please, 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 as I've said every single time, do not post answers to the questions in the comments. Those comments will be deleted, and someone who does so repeatedly will find themselves with the hide user from channel being clicked, which means they'll be able to post and see it themselves, I believe, but no one else will ever see anything they post on the channel ever again, because that's what hide user from channel does. So just be wary of that. Please do not post answers, but feel free to post your score. I'd love to see some cumulative scores for folks from the beginning up until the wrap-up of the season or series here. So, let's dive into this. We're going to do the questions, after which we'll do a brief pause. I'll give you the answers. You'll be able to tally up your score, and that'll be a wrap for us for now. Number 91. What 2 items could customers receive by pre-ordering the 2011 release of the complete saga through Best Buy in the United States? Number 92. The, quote, unaltered or, quote, theatrical versions of the original trilogy released on DVD as bonus discs in 2006 and 2008 were not actually the original unaltered versions many believed them to be. Upon which previous home video release were they actually based? '93. When was the first time that a full release of A New Hope was available at retail in the US without its episode number and subtitle? '94. What differentiated the 3 small Super 8 film reels released by Ken Films featuring content from A New Hope in the era prior to its subtitle? The subtitle thing doesn't actually have any bearing on the question, just noting the fact that it was very, very early, and I'm calling it A New Hope, even though at that time there wasn't a subtitle on it at all, so the products would have been labeled Star Wars. You get what I'm saying. It's 1977. 95. What was unique about the small Super 8 film reel for The Empire Strikes Back when compared to all other Star Wars Super 8 releases from Ken Films? 96. How many VHS boxed sets were released for the original trilogy in the UK in 1995? 97. In the US and Japan, Star Wars films, no, not soundtracks, the actual films, were released on vinyl formats. What were these two formats? 98. 1993 saw the THX remastered films first released in the Definitive Collection on Laserdisc. In 1995, the THX remastered films were released broadly on VHS, Laserdisc, and even Beta using the Definitive Collection masters. Which country experimented with VHS releases based on that same master in 1994, providing the proof of concept that led to the 1995 releases? 99. What unusual language, for home media at least, had its own release of A New Hope on DVD in 2013? And finally, number 100, when the original trilogy VHS box sets from 2000 were reissued in 2001 in the United States, the labels changed. What error could be found on the label for the widescreen VHS cassette of Return of the Jedi in this 2001 reissue? All right, take a moment, pause if you need to, get all your answers together, and now we're going to dive into answering these questions and then tallying up what may be final scores. Number 91. What two items could customers receive by pre-ordering the 2011 release of the complete saga through Best Buy in the United States? Well, they get the little Cinetype, right, the little film cell kind of thing to go along with the complete saga, or also get a t-shirt. 92. The quote unaltered or quote theatrical versions of the original trilogy released on DVD as bonus discs in 2006 and 2008 were not actually the original unaltered versions many believe them to be. Upon which previous home video release were they actually based? The 1993 Definitive Collection. They are the post-THX remastering versions. Maybe you could consider yourself having a point or a partial point or something for saying the THX Remastered Edition, because it's effectively the same thing, but it's actually the Definitive Collection that even the THX Remastered Edition was based on. 93. When was the first time a full release of A New Hope was available at retail in the US without its episode number and subtitle? 2006. Yes. The home video releases up to that point had all been after the subtitle was added, even going back to the original releases in 82. So you didn't have any releases past that point without the subtitle until they purposely took the Definitive Collection Masters from 93, chopped off the opening crawl for A New Hope, and replaced it with a scanned good film copy to put it out on those bonus discs in 2006. That was the first time American audiences got a full version of A New Hope that actually was missing the subtitle and episode number. 94. What differentiated the three small Super 8 film reels released by Ken Films featuring content from A New Hope in the era prior to its subtitle? Well, we're talking about the small reels, so the differences are black and white, color, color with sound. So the differentiation, essentially, if you want to boil it down, is was there color and was there sound? 95. What was unique about the small Super 8 film reel for The Empire Strikes Back when compared to all other Star Wars Super 8 releases from Ken Films? It came with an audio cassette for the sound. Number 96. How many VHS box sets were released for the original trilogy in the UK in 1995? There were 5. So you had your two sort of standard full screen releases, one in sort of a heavier slipcover, the other in like a kind of a cardboard folding box kind of thing. Then you had your two limited edition versions, which are the ones in the heavier slipcovers, kind of like that one retail release for full screen. But the limited editions had a full screen version and a widescreen version. Then, of course, you had the Definitive Collection or the Executor set, that big tin type thing that was a boxed set among those others. So a total of 5. Number 97. In the US and Japan, Star Wars films, no, not soundtracks, the actual films, were released on vinyl formats. What were these two formats? Well, in the US, it was the CED, the capacitance electronic disc, and in Japan, it was the VHD, standing for Video High Density. Number 98. 1993 saw the THX remastered films first released in the Definitive Collection on Laserdisc. In 1995, the THX remastered films were released broadly on VHS, Laserdisc, and even Beta using the Definitive Collection masters. Which country experimented with VHS releases based on the same master in 1994, providing the proof of concept that led to the 1995 releases? That was the UK. Number 99. What unusual language, for home media, had its own release of A New Hope on DVD in 2013? That was the Navajo language. And then finally, we have number 100. When the original trilogy VHS box sets from 2000 were reissued in 2001 in the United States, the labels changed. What error could be found on the label for the widescreen VHS cassette of Return of the Jedi on this 2001 reissue? It gave the episode number of Return of the Jedi as Episode 4. And that is it, at least for now. So, tally up your score either out of 10 if you're only watching this episode to see how you did, or if you follow the entire series from start to finish, it's time to calculate your score out of 100. That'll be your percentage. So, double check your percentage, see how you did, what grade would you give yourself, what grade would seem appropriate for the percentage, and so on. Remember, these are pretty tough questions, sometimes sort of honors or AP level type questions when it comes to Star Wars home video. In Georgia, we add 7 points, 7 honors points to grades to sort of tweak GPAs for AP and honors stuff. I don't know. It's just a thing that's done in Georgia. So maybe give yourself those points, but maybe note that if you do so in the comments. Again, in the comments, feel free to post your score either for this episode or cumulative. Please do not post any answers, as I've mentioned before. And yeah, I hope you had fun with this series. Again, it may come back. It just kind of depends on what I see. If you have suggestions for other sort of short-form, oddball little tie-in or side series, it might be interesting to hear those ideas. You might put those in the comments as well. But for now, this has been our last episode of the series or season for Star Wars Home Video Trivia. Again, I hope you've had fun, and may the Force be with the home video viewers. Thanks for playing.